Hi, and welcome to the NBA Economy Show. This is Fritz. I'm just joining you with just our latest news, Knicks news. And yesterday we've heard that some rumors that Utah's Walker Kessler's asking price was one pick. Um, However, we've gotten some updated information to think that that is not true. Actually, I didn't think it was true when I first heard it. I think it's probably more specialized than just one pick or any pick. Um, I We know Utah. They are hoarding draft picks. Um, and pretty much what they're running is the process. So the process that you saw with the 76ers, that's very close to what the Utah is running, except Utah seems to is playing the pick game a little better than the 76ers did, because the 76ers, were just losing and just kept drafting. Um, Utah is flipping picks a lot more frequently. Um, so that when the asking price was one pick, I assumed that they wanted a 2025 pick. Um, we know the 2025 draft is very deep. We also know Cooper Flag is in there. I don't think Utah wants to be decent this year. I think Utah really wants to bottom out, and they want to see how high they can get. Can they get Cooper Flag? Can they get a few picks in this draft? Maybe to go up for Cooper Flag, but if nobody even would trade Cooper Flag, to at least get to the top of the draft or get a couple chances at the top of the draft. So I'm thinking they're asking for 2025 unprotected. Um, Danny Ainge is not going to make it easy. You hear one picks, it sounds like, oh, it's an easy swap. It was never going to be that easy. Um, Ian Begley updated it today and said Walker Kessler, teams were offering multiple first round picks and they have been rejected. So that one pick rule is definitely not one pick, or any pick. Because a lot of people were saying, hey, the Knicks have two protected first in 2025. Maybe one of those would be good enough, or if needed, two of those. Um, that's not going to cut it. Um, that's not going to cut it with Ainge, even if you add someone like Deuce McBride. Um, uh, just going to look at the chat. Wrestling with Danny Ainge is never fun. Nope. Coach Char 617. Um, so I don't mind sending Rokas Sims the Washington pick and the second. Okay. And they have to bottom out because OKC owns their pick at top 10. Okay. Yeah. So I think they're really trying to get 2025 picks. I think they're just trying to load up on those to see just to see if they can get up there. Um, just see if they can get to the top of the draft. Outside of that Walker Kessler information, we had Mikal Bridges press conference 11 a.m. today. He was introduced at the Knicks practice facility. So this wasn't like a big thing at the Garden. It was up in Westchester. And Mikal Bridges, um, he seemed to be excited. He said, "I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be a Knick. Excited to get to work." Um, and he went on to say that he was very excited to play here at the Garden. He kind of thought he would be here in 2018 with that number 9 draft pick. He can't seem to let that go. But always you see in his interviews that, like, coming out of college, he always wanted to play in New York. Like, he always wanted to live in New York. Like, that was his thing. and even like rumors that that his agents was telling, um, you know, his agents was telling other teams that if they traded for him, that he was going to sign with New York no matter what. So this is a guy who seemed to always who wants to be here. Um, I guess not only to be with his friends, he loves the city. Um, he also talked a little bit about OG. He said he has a lot of respect for OG and kind of been following his career, and he really recognizes that they're going to be looked at as a defensive tandem, and he refused to add pressure about beating Boston because people are really relying on him and OG to match up against Boston's Brown and Tatum. Um, yeah, so that was some good information from Macau. When we look at what we're getting with Macau, we see that he's 6'6". This is his last season stats. 19.6 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, 3.6 assists, a little less than 44% field goals, and 37.2% from three. And those numbers are down from the year before when he just he was finally like solo coming from Phoenix going to New Jersey, and then he put up superstar numbers. Coming to New York, nobody's expecting him to be a superstar. I think everybody's expecting these numbers to actually go down. But the good thing is we won't be really relying on him for the offensive load. So what they're looking from him is if he can get back to that Phoenix defense, I think the Knicks would be more than happy if his numbers went down, but focused more on the defense, and just shooting when it's open, not forcing himself to try to be the superstar. As you see here, he's listed as a small forward, but on the Knicks, we're gonna actually see him a lot as shooting guard. If OG is out, you'll see him a lot at small forward. Also, his NBA consecutive game streak, which is the longest active. Um, Hope Tibbs doesn't ruin that. I hope it doesn't end because Tibbs they will never hear the end of Tibbs jokes if that ends anytime soon. Okay, so let's see. So Kyle Bridges, he's introduced to the team. So he is in the fold. And the next thing is the Knicks have interest. So the Knicks expressed interest in Davis Bertans, and Davis Bertans was just cut by Charlotte. We see that he averaged 6.7 points last year, 1.4 rebounds, less than assists, but 38.5 is his percentage from 3 point land, and that's his bread and butter. So he is a 3 point shooter. He's a professional shooter. He's 6'10", but he's not your typical power forward or someone you should rely on as a power forward. He is a guy you put in when you need shooting. So I wouldn't look at him for any. People are looking on here, looking at him. Oh, maybe he's our center prospect or a backup center. No, he's our more like specialist who comes off the bench now and again. So I guess several teams are interested in him. Let me see. And that information came from Michael Scotto, who said the New York Knicks are among the teams who expressed interest in signing free agent Davis Bertans. League sources told Hoops Hype Bertans shot 39.6 on 3 point range in his career and played for Latvia in the FIBA Olympics qualifying tournament. Uh, so, credible source, credible source on that Davis Bertans rumor. Not only that, Knicks made some news. They signed Ariel Hukporti to a two-way contract, and Hukporti was our 58th pick. So as a two-way contract, he can appear in up to 50 games before the Knicks would have to offer him a standard NBA contract. So that's a good indication. Huck Porty is not going to be relied on as the backup center, or a guy to play significant minutes, or even playing every night. You can look at him playing a lot for Westchester, maybe sitting on the bench sometimes, maybe showing up in an emergency. Um, Huck Porty is 22. He's from Germany, but his family's from Togo, making him the first Togolese descent to be selected in the NBA draft. And he's been a professional since 2008. So 6 years of professional basketball overseas. And he spent the last 3 years in the NBL. So in a decent league the last 3 years. Um, so we are certainly looking forward to that. The last one actually is a actually. So what I did is I updated our status report. Um, so now you can sign in Ariel Porty. He's signed to a two-way. So out of our draft picks, um, two were two were standard NBA contracts, one two-way, and the only person who's unsigned is Kevin McCullough. So we don't know if that's a two-way or if he'll get a standard deal. Um, we see that even though we have quite a bit of people on the roster, that is still in flux. That you're hearing Davis Bertans, who is in the backup center. He's not a point guard, so there may be some moves happening here, um, because the Knicks are operating as if they want more. They have more spots other than just backup point guard and backup center. All right, and the last one actually I saw on a podcast. So it's actually old Knicks news. So we know Mike Bibby, former Arizona alum, and he actually played for the Knicks in 2011 to 2012. And actually, yesterday on the OG's podcast, he said he was robbed by, when he was on the Knicks, he was robbed by a fellow Knick. And let me see. Yeah, so he was robbed by a fellow Knick. And Bibby, he was robbed by a fellow Knick teammate. And they actually had an investigation by the hotel and Mike Woodson at the time. And they caught the player on video entering his hotel room. And actually, Bibby said he was robbed several times. And he said when the player was caught, the all the players said it was a joke. Um, but he was robbed like 5,000 a few times. Um, and Bibby said he was at the end of his playing career, and then he wanted to see if he can get another contract. So he didn't make a big deal about it. So we went through the roster. You just wonder who that player was. It definitely wasn't J.R. Smith, because Bibby said J.R. wanted to beat that Knick player up if Bibby wanted to. So, but yeah, that's just an interesting story. Probably hear that around. Um, that's all the news I have for now. So if there's any updates, I'll definitely let you know. We're definitely we're definitely looking into that Walker Kessler. I'm not sure if the Knicks are out, if it's just too rich for their blood. There's definitely teams inquiring. So the Knicks aren't the only team going after him. They're not the only teams making offers. Um, so the Knicks are still active. So the Knicks are active, at least with Davis Bertans, which means that there may be some shuffling around on the roster to come. If there's any question, you can definitely put it in the chat. Um, I also had a comment from Robert Paris. Ainge may see Deuce as the younger Marcus Smart. Absolutely. Yeah, we see Deuce is like a guard where he could play, point guard, shooting guard, tough defender, two-way player, clutch. At the same time, he's shown that clutch ability. So I mean, I don't think there's a GM in the NBA that wouldn't want Deuce McBride. Um, so I know he'd probably be the first name off uh, his tongue if they were talking about players in return. I'm just not sure about the rest of the assets the Knicks have because the 2025 protected is nowhere near an unprotected. Um, Yesterday, talking to another content creator, they were thinking, oh, maybe toward the middle of the year, maybe if one of those picks are more likely to convey, they'll look at it as a first pick. Absolutely not. A protected pick is not worth an unprotected pick. You can put two of them together, and they're not worth an unprotected pick. And especially in 2025. 2025 is a highly anticipated draft. Not just Cooper Flag. They think more than Cooper Flag. It's going to be a very deep draft. So there, a lot of people are trying to get their way in there or get as many shots in there to see if they can get a couple good players or work their way up the draft board. Um, all right, so that's all I have. If you have any questions, definitely hit me up in the comments. Definitely hit me up on Twitter. Definitely all the socials. So at this time, that's all I have, and y'all have a great day, and peace.